What was your favorite children's game?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. We had a few children's games. We didn't have uh, money for games, but we, like to buy things. So my aunties were really good at making up games. We had a bit of space around us because my sister and I grew up in a house that had been a part of an old farm, and the farm was all sold off, but we lived in and it was at the outskirts of town, so it's close enough on one side to get into town, and on the other side it was like other paddocks, fields. So we had a bit of space. We used to play games that were made up from stories, actually. One of my aunties worked in a house. She was a cleaner. She worked in a house for an old Irish woman who had a lot of classics, and she'd asked my auntie to read some classics, like Roman and Greek classics. And so she told us the story once about Hannibal and the Romans or something. And so we used to go up on the hill, me and my sister, some of our cousins, and also some children that one of my aunties used to babysit who were not Aboriginal children. So that's interesting too. We used to play together, and we used to play games on the hill like Roman generals, or we used to play a game when we were little too called Imagine We Were Wild, and we used to go out on the hill and play this game where we pretended that we were, like, we used to say we're wild Aborigines, and what we meant by that was that we are people before white people came. We live in the bush, we were kids, and that was our way of articulating pre-contact, I guess. We are wild Aborigines. And we used to go out and find things that my nana used to tell us about, or the aunties used to tell us about, because there was a hill behind us. So on that hill, we would find things at certain times, like we'd go out and we'd have a look for echidnas, because they come out, they go under rocks, like they sort of semi-hibernate in winter. And then, I'm sorry, I should have turned that phone. Yeah, we used to play that game, and we used to go and look for things. So we would sometimes find a kid, like, you don't touch these things, but we would actually find them or come back and say so, or we would go out at certain times when the snakes are shedding, like that means they get, what I mean, they get a new skin. So a certain time of year, she'd say, you got to be careful of snakes, but if you go out, you'll probably find some sheddings as well. And sometimes we used to find a whole one of those and bring it back. So we used to play that game a lot. Other games we used to play were, this is a game that used to teach us about words and places, is we didn't have that many books in the house, although we did have some books in the house. And we had a dictionary, and we had an atlas. And so we used to play this game like with the aunties, where they would, so you just close your eyes and you flick the dictionary open. One person does it by themselves and the other people don't see. And you find a word, which could be axiom or something like that. And then any word, you choose whatever page you flick it open on, you can choose a word off that page, but you have to choose a word off the page where you flick it. And then you can say to people, you say the word out loud, you usually pick the hardest word, and you give 3 meanings, and people have to guess the right one, and one of them's right. And I used to do that with an atlas as well, except it would be something like, well, I am a river, and I am this long, and I go through the following places, and that was more like things we used to do when we were confined to be inside during wet weather or in the evenings.